Well, hell, there you are. Rumor was you were out wandering in traffic.
Not now, Larry.
What's the game plan, Kevin? I got a 4:30 deadline. I need a quote. Give me a quote.
Fuck off.
Mr. Lomax had no comment on today's events. Speculation, however, was widespread that the young lawyer's unblemished string of victories would come to an end in this courtroom. It's a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all.
Did you see the lie which will eventually lead Kevin to this?
It's time. Free will, right?
Probably not. It's right here.
It's a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all.
It was a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all. Doesn't really sound like a lie. As an independent statement, it's true. But what was this reporter, who is by the way the devil, Thunder Lightning was the cue? What was he trying to achieve by saying that? Was he just making a factual statement? There are infinite amount of factual statements he could have made. Why not any other? Why this one? If we take context of the situation into consideration, then we have to look at devil's motivation. The devil, John Milton, wanted Kevin to win this case, no matter what he had to do. This statement was a lie because John pretended to be consoling, while in reality his goal was to manipulate Kevin into doing something immoral. The lie resided in his intentions. Factually true statements were merely tools of achieving deception. By the way, this is pragmatic truth, and if anyone is interested in how deep the rabbit hole really goes, then I made a video about it. Anyways, why did Kevin get to a point where he saw suicide as the only escape? What is it that makes a good devil? This is the devil's advocate explained. I can explain this movie in one word. Faust. It's a book by Goethe which has heavily influenced people's idea of the devil. Tell me if this sounds familiar. An intelligent, successful man, despite his well-off position in life, is unsatisfied with it. The protagonist looks for fulfillment in a false ideal, such as never losing a case. In order to reach that ideal, he has to do something immoral, and he knows it's immoral, but the devil in one way or another talks him into doing it. From that point onward, it's a downward spiral to hell. This is the plot of Faustian stories/movies. Now, let's look at how this relates to the devil's advocate. Kevin is in a good position in life. He's intelligent, attractive, well-spoken, he has a good job, he has a wife, and a bright future ahead of him. He has every reason to be content with his life, but he isn't. He isn't because he is willing to risk it all by lying in order to set a child molester free. Just think about what would have to be on the line for you to lie in court in order to set a damn child molester free. Sure, there might be some situations where you might do it, if for example somebody threatened your life, or hell, you might do it for money. Kevin did it for better statistics. Better case win rate ratio was the only Kevin's upside for setting a child molester free. If he didn't lie and would have lost the case, nothing would have changed in his life. Sure, a loss is a loss and it feels bad, but everything else in his life would be the same. So why did he do it? Kevin isn't satisfied with his life, and the reason is that Kevin's highest ideal is his own ego.
Maybe it was your time to lose. You didn't think so.
Lose? I don't lose! I win! I win! I'm a lawyer! That's my job! That's what I do!
I rest my case. Vanity is definitely my favorite sin.
The lesson here is that if you put yourself on the pedestal and reach for your goals at the expense of other people, then you're cutting down the tree which you're trying to climb. By setting free molesters, murderers, and the like, Kevin is destroying his society. In reality, societies are so big and stable, especially the Western societies, that a single individual can't bring it all down. Roman Empire didn't collapse because of external threats. It collapsed because they had one too many Kevins reaching for their interests at the expense of others. It takes two to tango. That was the story from Kevin's point of view. Now let's look at the devil. If we back up a little and look at the concept of devil, then devil is a personification of egoistic impulses within man. Stuff, intelligence, greed, vanity, lust, etc. into flesh, sprinkle some magical powers on top of it, and you get the devil. Combination of all of that leads to someone who is cunning, manipulative, charming, and he is always at the right place and time, because he is a part of you. It's something you can see all throughout this movie. The devil is shown as a person called John Milton and as an aspect of human nature. Here are some instances of the devil as an aspect of human nature, or at least the devil talking about himself as an aspect of human nature.
Underestimated from day one. You'd never think I was a master of the universe now, would you?
You were right about one thing, Kevin. I have been watching. Couldn't help myself. Watching. Waiting. Holding my breath.
But I'm no puppeteer, Kevin. I don't make things happen. Doesn't work like that. I'm here on the ground with my nose in it since the whole thing began. I've nurtured every sensation man has been inspired to have. I cared about what he wanted, and I never judged him. Why? Because I never rejected him, in spite of all his imperfections. I'm a fan of man!
There's also the usual cynical attitude towards human nature. Johnny has made poetry out of criticizing humans.
You sharpen the human appetite to the point where it can split atoms with its desire. You build egos the size of cathedrals, fiber optically connect the world to every eager impulse, grease even the dullest dreams with these dollar green, gold-plated fantasies until every human becomes an aspiring emperor, becomes his own god. And where can you go from there?
And of course, the solution is to welcome your passions with open arms. If by doing so you destroy your society, then that's a bonus.
We're coming out! Guns blazing! The two of you, all of us, acquittal after acquittal after acquittal, until the stench of it reaches so high and far into heaven, it chokes the whole fucking lot of them.
There is yet one more aspect of the devil. He's a good liar. The thing is, the truth is a complicated concept. The most popular understanding of truth is that if your statement corresponds to reality, then it's true. If I were to say that John and Kevin are in a train, that would be a true statement, since they are in a train. This is correspondence theory of truth. It's a self-referential truth, circular, flawed, and John uses its flaws to achieve his aims. Everything John Milton says is true from the perspective of correspondence theory, but it's absolutely a lie if you look from the pragmatic perspective, because from the pragmatic perspective you have to take context into consideration in order to determine whether something is true. In the beginning we already looked at one example, let's look at another.
John, I've got a jury showing up
You
this
love
morning.
this woman.
Yes, of course I do.
What are you doing, Kevin? She's sick. Everyone will understand. I'll understand.
What about color?
We find somebody new. You consult.
You live to fight another day, son.
What are you talking about, Consults? I put together a great jury.
It's a disappointment, I know. We have them. All of us have them. You use it. You embrace it. And then you move on.
You should take care of your wife. She's sick. Everyone will understand. Blah, blah, blah. Again, these are statements which individually correspond to reality. But what is John trying to achieve? John isn't trying to describe Kevin's wife's situation, nor is he concerned about Kevin or his wife. You have to remember that John is Kevin's boss. If he really wanted to get him off the case, all he had to do is get him off the case. But he didn't, because he doesn't want to. He wanted Kevin to forget his wife and focus on the case. That's his goal. John lies about his intentions by using quote-unquote true statements. There's this high-minded idea that truths are true within themselves, that you don't need to take context into consideration in order to determine truth value of a proposition. But if you don't, then you're setting yourself up for deception. The culmination of this movie was a free will moment, where Kevin chose to sacrifice himself for his sins, and then he was resurrected. A sort of Jesus Christ moment. At the end, he did the right thing. But despite that, the devil's still there, because the devil is a part of you.